In stage 2, when there's a reemergence of the cycle with maybe a soft bullet or maybe a pointed bullet, do you go back to stage 1 and talk about the cycle, or do you just sort of press on?
The first thing I do is try to nudge the person who just sent the soft bullet back to their own inner world, back to their primary emotion, back to their vulnerability, and see if I can regain traction, limbic resonance with, wait, you and I were just talking about your sadness. And then now I hear you turning to your partner and saying, I need more of this from you, but in a way that makes me feel protective, makes it sound like a soft bullet, makes it feel a little bit, I feel worried it might be a little zinger. Could I bring you back to your sadness? Could we just linger there for a minute so we can reestablish that? Could I help you share that? You're sad. You felt very vulnerable with the sadness. I heard it in your voice. How would it be for me to redirect you, nudge you back to your vulnerability, your primary emotion? In stage 2, they will often follow my lead because this is familiar to them. This is the mission. They're aware of this. But if for some reason it's hard for them to follow my lead back to their primary, then instead of reflecting the cycle, which is kind of my last option, this next option would be just to reflect this person's steps in the dance. Oh, this might be a moment where you're feeling on the edge of your window of tolerance. You're getting uncomfortable. And so you start defaulting to that coping strategy of being critical of your partner. This is when I need to make sure that you're squarely in your sadness before I encourage you to turn to your person. This is when I need to amplify your sadness to make sure that's the primary signal we're helping you send right now. And then if that doesn't work, then I'll zoom out even further and reflect their interactional pattern and help them both see that this is not a failure, this is not a problem, but we can't continue in the stage 2 moments that we were trying to develop. We need to go back, zoom out, contain this mini escalation, contain this distress that's catching us all off guard, that's putting the partner into their coping strategy, pulling them away from their vulnerability and into their coping strategy, which means it's going to be tough on their relationship. So 3 different levels as I see it in my mind. First, I nudge them back to primary. Secondly, I'll try to help them catch their steps in the dance. I'm on the verge of pursuing. I'm on the verge of withdrawing. And then if that doesn't work, then I'll zoom out and say, I think we just started getting caught in a mini escalation. I just want to slow the moment down, reflect the cycle, remind you of your goodness, remind you of how well you're working hard. This is working. This isn't a failure, and then see where we can go back in with either partner.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So you don't actually want to start with reflecting the cycle because you want to kind of capitalize on the moment when they're beginning to touch that vulnerability, the fear, the sadness, and you want to just, if they'll follow you, stay there.
They're nudging back to their coping strategy tells me they're on their leading edge. Because they're on their leading edge, I want to do everything I can to hold them there, to stretch their window of tolerance rather than exit fully. They'll, of course, follow my lead to more comfortable territory. So I want to take advantage of them wavering, teetering, and say, wait, let's get comfortable here. So I don't want to exit too soon because we're in stage 2. There is rapport, there is trust. We follow each other's leads regularly. Could I linger here? Could we linger here? I want to help you stay here. It feels like you're right on your edge. You started to say something. Maybe I interrupted you too soon. Maybe you weren't going to be edgy or critical, but I started to feel cringy and protective. So I just interrupted you and thank you for letting me interrupt you. But you're feeling what on the inside? How close do you feel to that sadness that we were just sharing?
That's nice. In a way, you don't want, like if I'm picturing a person balancing on their edge, I don't want to grab their hand too quickly because I want them to build that muscle of finding their balance in that vulnerability. And if I grab their hand too quickly, they're not growing that muscle to go deeper and deeper where the revision will happen.
I love that image. And it makes me think of a freshly planted tree that has some stabilizers. But if you leave those stabilizers on too long, the tree doesn't develop its core strength to blend in the breeze and to know it's going to be okay. I love that image that you gave up. If I grab their hand and yank them off the teetering position, they won't develop the strength, the capacity to stay on that teetering edge. What is our edge today won't be our edge tomorrow, next week, or next month.
Right.
So we all are teetering from time to time. We're balancing whatever our leading edges are in life and in growth as EFT clinicians. We teeter. You all have seen me teeter a lot and growing myself and my leading edge in that way. And so we teeter and then we develop competency and then perhaps even resilience at some point.
For more hot tips on emotionally focused therapy, go to theeftcafe.com and sign up for our newsletter where you will receive short little clips like the one you just watched.